What is up guys, I do hope you're well, and welcome to another video from the r/DaddyCringe subreddit. If you would like your story shared, don't forget to post it on r/DaddyCringe. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe even the notification bell. And let's get started. Now we have a story from Auntie Mags. Hey Auntie. Hello, been a long time lurker on the channel for a while. I've always appreciated the effort and good vibes your videos have, so I figured I'd try and give back a little by telling a story. This happened to me last week, so it's fairly fresh in my mind. A slight warning, I may upset people sensitive to the topic of pregnancy. Also, this might be a bit long and includes a crude clapback. My apologies. Without further ado, let's dive into the madness. Liking the sound of this already. So I have this friend named Lisa. We met during my college years at a bus stop for some reason or another. Started to hang out frequently. She was always a bit entitled, but wasn't too bad at the time. I think the only reason I allowed the friendship to happen was down to the fact that I was a doormat in my younger years. Current me would nope out in a flash. Anyway, about 2 years after we met, Lisa moved out of my area for a decent job. I tried to contact her after the move, but would get no response. I eventually gave up and moved on. It had been 8 years since that day. Now, on to what happened last week. I just came home after having a long day, so the first thing I do is boot up my laptop and unwind with a glass of wine. I decided to check my email and other messages to get them out of the way before I go on my YouTube binge. I don't get a lot of emails from people, usually it's just social media notification or junk. Only a few select people know of this email, and honestly, I prefer to keep it that way. So imagine my surprise when I see an email from an unfamiliar address that wasn't automatically sent to my spam folder. The title read, "I'm so glad I found you," and for some reason, looking at it made me anxious. I don't know what compelled me to check it out. Perhaps morbid curiosity at the risk of getting a virus. Who knows? So I click it and let out a sigh of relief that my laptop didn't go boom. I then proceeded to read the email, tilting my head in confusion, as I almost assumed that the sender had the wrong person. As soon as I read the line about meeting at a bus stop and a date that lined up with my college years, it all clicked in my mind. It was Lisa. I won't bore you with most of what she put in the email. Most of it was her going on about her wonderful life. Mainly she had a lot of money, expensive handbags, she's a designer brand addict, and also that she's finally married the right man. She's been divorced 3 times. Holy shit. She had also moved closer to my area again for unexplained reasons. Just as I was wondering what the character limit for emails were, something caught my eye. Something not so nice for Lisa's perfect life. It turns out she cannot have kids of her own. She found out during her second marriage while attempting to get pregnant. She was understandably distraught at this discovery. I emailed back expressing my deepest sympathies and asked if there was anything I could do to help. Big mistake on my part. This triggered a long series of short back and forth emails. I condensed it down to a conversation to make things less confusing and easier to read. Actually, there is something you can do. I was planning on asking you anyway. You aren't currently employed, right? So maybe you'll have time to invest in this little favour to me. That is, if you still want to. Well yeah, I still want to help if I can, so go ahead, tell me what you need. I want you to be my surrogate. It has been so hard finding one that is willing. Since you are close by, you'll be perfect for the job. I recoiled back in my chair and let out a confused sound upon reading that request. I was expecting something in the line of emotional support or recommending helpful articles. Not this. I honestly didn't want to. I have a fear of getting pregnant. Plus, I'm not a very good choice anyway. A small handful of hereditary illnesses run in my family, and while I'm not exactly unhealthy at the moment, things could be better. To top of my list of reasons, I'm going to move to another country in roughly a year or less. I might not even have time to pop the baby out. I felt really guilty for even thinking of saying no, but at the end of the day, this is my body, my choice. I took a deep breath as I sent my next response. Here comes mistake number 2. Lisa explodes, breaking out the old caps lock rage. What do you mean no? Do you have any idea how awful it is not to be able to carry my own child? How could you be so cruel? I thought you were a good person. My friend. I'm so sorry, but I'm not the best choice anyway. I then list everything I mentioned above. So you see, I unfortunately cannot help in that way. It's a big thing to ask somebody you haven't spoken to in 8 years. I didn't mean to upset you. It is not a big ask. You'll only be doing it a couple of times. What? A couple of times? This escalated. What is a few months of being pregnant compared to me not ever having a child for the rest of my life? Do something useful with your life for once and help make a miracle for me. God, what a pain in the ass. I'm not asking for much here. Besides, you can wait to move to another country for a few more years. Think of all the good you'll be doing. Hold on. A couple of times? That's like almost 2 years. You really expect to put my plans on hold for that long? I'm sorry, but even the money wouldn't convince me. I have to decline. I'm sure you'll find someone better. If not, have you considered adoption? Money? What makes you think you'll be getting paid? This is a favour after all, not something you'll be compensated for. Seriously, it's not that hard. I've been rejected by too many stingy surrogates as it is. I will not be denied. Also, adoption is not for us. Why would I want somebody else's child that will likely come with a ton of problems? At this point, I was starting to get a little steamed. It was bad enough reading that she doesn't believe in surrogates getting paid for undergoing the physically and mentally draining task of carrying a child, but she also hates the idea of adoption. Her reasoning was weak too, as all kids face problems in their lives. Went back and forth with her, insisting I had to do this for her in every response. Then she said something that made me bring out the sass to show that I am no longer the doormat she's looking for. You are so selfish. What happened to the nice friend I had all those years ago? The one that generously gave me things when I asked. At least you were somewhat useful then. If you don't use your uterus, then you're a failure as a woman. I should have your uterus anyway. You don't deserve it. Entitled people are going mental. They're taking body parts. They're taking organs. You're one to talk. I can't recall a single time you did something for me, or anyone else we knew. Mind you, I don't expect anything from most people anyways, as I'm nowhere near as entitled as you are. Also, if it were possible, I'd happily transfer my uterus to somebody that needed it. Not you though. Excuse me? I'm not entitled in the slightest. I have to work hard to get where I am today. I have a great position at a job I deserve. Meanwhile, here you are stuck in that dead-end town, doomed to live a miserable life that you deserve. Sucking the boss's dick to get a promotion is not exactly hard work. How fucking dare you? I'm suffering and here you are, making lewd jokes at my expense. I'm a nice person. You're just jealous of my success, and that I've always been better than you. Ah yes, because refusing to pay surrogates and getting divorced 3 times screams, I am nice. Okay, I'll admit, I think I went too far with that remark. I don't think you went far enough. What the fuck? Why are you like this? God, you've clearly changed for the worse. I take it back. I don't want you to carry my children. They might inherit your nasty genes, or your looks. Thank goodness. Look, I'm very sorry for what happened to you. I've known others that are unable to have their own children. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. However, you're going about this in the worst way possible, like you used to years back. You're in your 30s now. Perhaps it's time to reflect and grow a bit more before jumping into becoming a parent. I do wish you luck, but I'm going to have to request that you stop emailing me now. Cheers. No. You do not get away that easily. You owe me for emotional damage. You have to at least pay me some sort of fee, or else I'll go to the police. Cool. Good luck with that. Bye. After that mess of a conversation, I blocked her email, something I should have done way sooner. I also archived her replies just in case. I doubt the police would get involved. Our local force is a bit lax in many departments. Plus, I don't think what I did was a crime. I later get an email from a friend admitting that they gave Lisa my email, but only because she begged them multiple times. Apparently Lisa went straight back to my friend to vent how mean I was, then tried to ask them to be the surrogate instead. A lot of guilt tripping was involved. My friend said no, causing Lisa to blow up once more. We then proceeded to message other mutual friends and contacts to warn them about Lisa. Apparently some had already dealt with this exact situation before, some dating back a year and a half ago. Needless to say, she'd been blocked by almost everyone she's harassed. I know I could have handled the situation a lot better, plus I do still feel a little bit sorry for her situation. As I've mentioned before, I've known people that are unable to conceive kids of their own. On the other hand, I think I just spared a hypothetical child from having Lisa as a mother. Wowzers! That is a story and a half. You know, when I was reading this all the way through, I was getting so pissed off with that Lisa, because what an entitled bitch, man. To claim that she should have your uterus. What the hell? That's crazy. But then saying that you have to give up like 2 years of your life because she wants more than one kid. It wasn't just the one, it was a surprise second. But she wants to give you up 2 years of your life. You probably would be expected to get paid for that amount of time because obviously you're not working that time, so you need money, etc. But there was that little inkling of me like seeing her to be emailing this many people of desperation that she wants a child, and that it makes me feel a little bit bad for her. I know if you're getting that desperate to like keep harassing people and saying that you need it and all this kind of thing, that is a sign of desperation and probably not good mental health at the same time. So it's kind of sad in that way, but at the same time it's just like, well, she's a bitch, fuck her. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for sharing that story. That was a great story. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and I hope, like you said, you got some like family illnesses. I hope they're not bothering you too much in life. Much love. Now I have a story from Raven's Arts, entitled Karen Thinks I'm Treating My Son Like a Dog. No, but she's being a bitch. Warning, this story briefly mentions the menstrual cycle in certain parts. I don't think you have to give a warning for that sort of stuff. This is natural stuff talking about. If we can't talk about that, then God help us. This happened over 10 years ago and was so bizarre. It honestly felt like the glitch in the Matrix situation. So here goes. I was standing at a crosswalk with my toddler, waiting to cross. It had been a long day and I was very tired. My feet were sore, plus I had a really bad case of cramps. This will be relevant. I really needed a chai latte in the worst way. Helps with the pain. I was just standing there with my son, minding my own business, waiting to cross the street with the rest of the people, when I hear a woman's voice in my left ear ask in a loud, snotty tone, "Do you know you're treating your child like a dog?" I closed my eyes, hoping that when I turned, I wouldn't see what I feared I would. I turned my head. There, standing next to me, was a blonde, 40-something, Anglo woman, a woman I'd never seen before in my life, hands on hips, glaring at me as she just caught me pissing in a morning cup of coffee. She was well dressed, groomed to the eyeballs with perfect hair, nails, makeup, etc., wearing a skirt and blouse outfit that looked expensive. She was Karen. I was literally face to face with a genuine classic Karen. I groaned inwardly. I'd been hearing this crap a lot lately. This was because I had my child on a leash. It was actually a child harness I bought because my son was a runner, would bolt without any warning. Once he almost ran into traffic, scared the shit out of me. Hence, the harness. Bizarrely, since I'd started using the harness, this was the third Karen who come up to me and said something along those lines in the last 2 weeks. And even more bizarre was that the previous two, for reasons I don't get, were the same kind of woman, a well-dressed 40-something white woman who naturally didn't have kids, had never taken care of a kid, probably never even held a kid, but of course knew better than me when it came to child rearing. The previous two had looked and dressed so similarly, they could have been related to the one I was now facing. It was creepy. She continued to glare at me, hands on hips, lip curled, as if somehow expecting me to crumble from her gaze, fall to the ground, and prostrate myself, apologising to her for my transgression. If she thought that, then this bitch had picked the wrong woman on the wrong day. It had been a particularly hard day for me. The lines at the stores had been long and slow, the parking area crowded and full of psychotic drivers, along with several people who didn't seem to understand that it's a bad idea to walk in front of a moving car. Oh, and someone tried to take stuff out of my shopping cart because I had the last one, and they wanted it. They didn't get it, but did get a promise of grievously bodily harm if they did get away from my son, who was sitting in the said cart. Plus, my son was also tired and in serious need of a diaper change, and kept tugging on my hand and pants leg. Add all that with sore feet, horrible cramps, and in serious need for caffeine, and you get me in a really bad mood. I could actually feel my blood starting to boil. Karen, in the same bitchy tone, "Well, I just want to get my chai, go to my car, go home, have my son and groceries over to my dad, then curl up around a heating pad for an hour or two and cry. It hurt that much. So to have some random Karen come up to me and tell me I was basically abusing my child because I didn't want him to end up a bloody stain on the road just pissed me off. So I raised my chin, looked her dead in the eye and said, 'No, but you're being a bitch.' 'Excuse me?' 'No,' I replied. 'I don't think I will.' I met her glare with one of my own. 'Tell me, do you have any children?' Karen, taken back. No, I don't.' 'Good, because the last thing we need is someone like you reproducing. Oh, what a comeback. Karen recoiled from me, shocked, as if I'd just slapped her. Guess in a sense I had. Then her eyes narrowed and her neck turned beet red, going all the way up to her chin, to disappear under apparently thick makeup. She opened her mouth to, I assume, say something scathing, but before she could utter a word, something behind her started cackling. Not laughing, cackling. Another woman, whom I hadn't noticed because I was too focused on Karen and controlling the strong urge I had to smack the stupid out of her, was standing behind her. 3 kids of her own in tow, one of them also wearing a harness. She was bent almost double, laughing her ass off. The woman said, "That's it, honey," she said between bursts of laughter. "You tell her." I like you getting back up. Realising she was standing between 2 mums with kids on harnesses, one of them laughing, the other seeming ready to punch her teeth at the back of her head, Karen decided that discretion was the better part of survival. Her mouth snapped shut. She then made a huffing noise, not unlike the sound a llama makes when there's something stuck up its nose, turned and stomped away. The woman and I had a good laugh at her expense for a couple of minutes before I finally, happily, got my chai and changed my kid's diaper and went home. Note, through this entire encounter my son, who'd been pulling on me, actually stopped to watch the exchange between me and Karen and didn't make any fuss until we got to the changing station in the coffee shop. Oh man. What a day to cross you, eh? Of all the days. I see a lot of kids on these harnesses and I think they're just a great safety feature for a child. Because as you say, you don't want your child to end up as a stain on the road. So yeah, and some people, kids just bolt. They see something they want, they see a cat, they see something, they're going to charge at it. Some children just do that. And it's just great to have peace of mind that your kid isn't going to get splattered that day. You know what I mean? For someone to come up to you and then try this shit, it's just beyond words. But fair play to you for sticking up for yourself and meeting another mother thinking exactly the same thing. Good on you. And thank you very much for sharing that story. That's fantastic. Now we have a story from Hygor Bom Hubner. I hope I got it right. Entitled employee fights my mum at store because she wouldn't buy anything. First post. I'm Brazilian. English not my first language. Sorry for the formatting. Not really. I don't care. Blah 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 blah. You all know the drill. Also, it's a Brazilian store and it's this brand. Mum, aunt, EP, entitled employee, MG, manager, me. Oh wait, I'm not relevant. So, my mum and aunt went shopping to the mall, doing their usual stuff. I don't know what it was, and honestly, don't care, as they would only usually walk around window shopping. Then they decide to enter a retail store, so they go in, and here comes EP. He greets them and proceeds to ask exactly what they're searching for. Like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't exactly remember what my mum was searching, but like I also said, she was only window shopping. She only asked prices to compare between different stores, as she wanted to make sure she wouldn't spend too much. However, as the EP realised he wouldn't be able to make the sale, he began to become rather impatient, before becoming full on angered, and after it was clear that my mum wasn't planning to buy anything, he became mad and told her to leave the store. Mind you, my mum is, well, let's just say she doesn't take shit from no one, and I mean no one. If she gets disrespected, she'll lash out and fight with anyone, even if they're business owners, police officers, etc, etc. No, she's not a grumpy person, but she only does this when she feels she's disrespected, and I agree with her. And by what my aunt said, the EP was clearly in the wrong in the situation. The EP began saying that if she wouldn't buy anything, she should just stop wasting his time and leave the store. Obviously, my mum wasn't obligated to leave, as she was only seeing the items being sold and wasn't bothering anyone, and she began to argue with the EP. Fairly normal, I might add. But as the EP continued to insist, before all out lashing out at her, telling her to leave, oh boy, I know firsthand, never make my mum lose her cool with you. They began arguing back and forth with their voices raising more and more, and soon people who were walking through the mall's corridors could hear, and they began looking at their argument, while my aunt, as she said, was only giggling behind my mum, because she too knows how my mum can be when she's angry, but also how funny the whole thing was until, after losing his patience, the EP shoved my mum out the store. Big mistake. From what my aunt told me, my mum turned into the Tasmanian devil and charged at the EP and started beating the shit out of him, And make no mistake, it wasn't that stereotype, weak slapping as if she were a child type of fighting. Nope. According to my aunt, my mum went full Muhammad Ali on the EP's ass, and the guy began screaming, not in a girlish way, for someone to get this bitch off him. The MG manager came running in and asked what was happening. Of course, as it always happens with these types of stories, the EP tried to say that my mum attacked because he wasn't satisfying her needs as a salesman, and how she needed to be escorted and banned not only from the store but from the entire shopping mall. Ho ho ho. My mum's face became redder than a fucking tomato, not out of embarrassment, let me tell you. The EP continued to bitch how my mum was unstable and prone to anger and blah blah blah. The MG however, apparently was slightly untrustworthy of EP's story, and both my mum began telling their side of the story. But the EP cut them off, saying they were lying, as they were both together, they would obviously side with each other. However, I guess the EP's ego was preventing blood pumping to his brain, because I don't think he noticed that dozens of people were watching the whole thing, and they too sided with my mum and aunt. The EP was furious, and holy shit tried to attack my mum again, but the MG tried to stop him, but couldn't. My mum decked him and he fell hard and popped around in the floor like a fish out of the water, saying how she assaulted him. The MG at this point let out a sarcastic laugh, seeing how the EP clearly tried to attack her, but still claimed it was assault. The MG apologised to my mum and aunt and offered discounts the next time they came to the store. Then my mum and aunt left, and MG began screaming at the EP. Later, my mum and aunt passed the store again, not entering, just passing the front, and the EP was still there, being yelled at by the MG. The EP looked outside and saw them, and by what my aunt told me, he began gritting his teeth in anger, and got up and marched down to the door, and my mum was ready to fight him again, but the EP stopped the entrance and shouted for everyone to hear, "I'll find where you live, and I'ma fuck you up, your children, and your whole fucking family." Before MG could intervene, the EP looked at him, told him to go fuck himself, and when he turned around to look at my mum, she was already in his face, and guess what? Punched him again. She didn't take no shit. Then my mum and aunt walked away, and the EP was shouting profanities and names out of pain. The next week, my mum and aunt passed by the store, and the EP was gone. The manager said he was fired, and the manager already had issues with him even before this incident, as he lashed out at customers before, but never at this stage, as the customers only left, while my mum was the first and only one to stand up and fight him. The MG then said that the EP vowed to find her and ruin her life, and reported him to the cops, and asked her if she had any trouble with him, but my mum laughed and said that she never saw him again. To this day, the EP never tried to do anything. Maybe he got arrested, or maybe he just couldn't find her, or maybe he gave up. I don't know, but what I know for sure, I wish I was there, because that would have been one hell of an Instagram story to film and share. Holy shit, your mum just punches anyone. I mean, the guy sounded like an arrogant salesman type that's just trying to push you to buy stuff. I never understand that with some sort of salesman. We get it a lot in the UK. If you go to like an electrical appliance store, they jump on you like straight away. Like, what are you looking for? You're after a TV, because they're all on commission based sales, so they get a little extra if they sell you stuff and sell you the insurance as well. But obviously in Brazil, they do things to a whole different level. They're getting their asses beat. Thank you very much for sharing that story. That is insane. And yeah, your mum sounds like a badass.